Hi, I'm Jeremy, and believe it or not, I still exist. I just want to say I'm really sorry to any of you who thought I was going to be more active in this community. Just, the fact of the matter is, I don't read often enough for that to be possible. I'd be looking at like tags and stuff and reading the questions and just realizing that I'd just be using the same handful of books all the time. And if I could do reviews like I started off doing, but they'd be few and far between, and I don't know. Just, I don't read often enough, and maybe that is a problem, but let me explain. I started BookTube as a way to encourage me to read more, and that worked for a while, but then reality and busyness and college and everything started setting in. For example, near the later end of this past semester, this was every day for me. I would wake up, eat, go to class, do some homework, go to rehearsal, get back to my dorm, eat again, do some more homework, go to a different rehearsal, and then do a different class, then you get back, try to get all my homework done, and go to sleep. And that's how it was pretty much every day for a while there. And even when I didn't have as much stuff going on, I had other projects that were taking priority for me. For example, I've been doing a lot more writing. I also joined / helped found a sketch comedy group on campus. There's lots of school events, mainly related to being a theater major. And it's just, I had no time to read, and I just don't read enough as it is. And even like during the summer, this summer especially, I've still been doing theater stuff. I've been doing community theater, I've been doing writing for theater, and it's just that stuff has taken priority over reading for me, and I think that's okay. I just want to make it clear that I can't make any promises that I'll be making more videos. I need to know what my passions are and what's taking more of my time and what's worth more of my time. Not that reading and BookTube aren't worth anyone's time, it's just not for me. Theater is my main passion. Theater is what I need to devote most of my time to be successful there. So yeah, and that being said, I'm not ever going to say I'm completely shutting down my channel. I'll never say that about anything. Just don't hold your breath for me to make new videos. They will come as they do. I will say right now, there probably won't be many of them. But I'm still here, I'm still alive. Things are gonna be okay as long as I let them be. I don't want this BookTube to be a source of stress for me. I want it to be something I do for fun when I want to. I know I'm not going to be super popular and successful here if that's the case, and I'm not making it a priority, but it doesn't need to be. I don't care about being successful on YouTube. I have other career plans. This was never planned to be my career. It's just for fun, and I'm just going to keep it that way and do it on my own terms. With that all being said, there is a big book event that happened recently that I couldn't resist talking about. I read Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, and I absolutely loved it. That's one of the main reasons I want to make this video, is because apparently a lot of people have very strong opinions on why they don't like it. A lot of people actually aggressively hate it, and a lot of people are outright refusing to read it. I don't like that. You can like whatever you want, you can dislike whatever you want, that's okay. But with this particular book / play, there's been a lot of people disliking it for really stupid reasons. Two come to mind right away. First is that it's a play and not a book, and that's just... really? That's like if I went on to a golf course and said, "Hey, I thought we were playing basketball." Like, guys, this was never promised to be a book. It was always meant to be a play, and that's what it is. And I was actually very excited when I found out this was a play rather than a book, because I personally much prefer reading plays. I know that a lot of people don't. I know I'm in the minority there, but don't be disappointed when you don't get something you were never promised. That applies to a lot of things in life, and it especially applies here. So if you inherently don't like reading plays, and you know you don't like reading plays, then you don't need to read it. You don't have to. I know that it's Harry Potter, and a lot of people want to read it just because it's Harry Potter, including people who don't normally read plays, but if you don't like the format and you can't get past that, you're not going to like it, and that's fine. But just understand that that's going to be the case. If you want to try it, that's great, but don't hate on something for being something it was never meant to be. Reason number 2 that people are hating on this a lot is that other people are telling them to hate it, or subconsciously making them hate it. People have this thing with this book that there's so much hate surrounding it that people feel like they need to hate it to be considered a true fan or a good person or whatever. That's just not okay. That happens a lot with lots of different fandoms and such, and it's been happening a lot with The Cursed Child, and that's just not fair to the play, to the book, to J.K. Rowling, to Jack Thorne, to any of the fans, to people who didn't like it for other reasons. It's not fair to anyone who actually read it, or saw it, or had any involvement to it. Just don't do that, please. Getting on to my actual review of this, which I'll say now, it's going to be kind of ranty, and it is not going to be spoiler-free. So with that in mind, if you haven't read it yet and you plan to, probably shouldn't keep watching. Otherwise, yes, keep watching. Harry Potter and the Cursed Child is the next generation of the characters from the Harry Potter series. You probably knew that already. I know that when it was first announced, it was, the rumor was that it was about Harry living with the Dursleys before he found out he was a wizard. And that actually is somewhat true. There are several scenes in this play that are flashback scenes. Well, not even flashbacks. They're like dream sequences that are sort of flashbacks of Harry and the Dursleys. I think that's where that rumor initially came from, but that is not the bulk of the play. That's a fairly small portion of it. I actually really enjoyed those scenes, some of the best in the play, but that's not what it all is. Most of it surrounds 2 particular characters. There's a lot of characters in this play, but it really mainly focuses on 2, and that is Albus Severus Potter, who was named after the 2 bravest men Harry ever knew, and Scorpius Malfoy, the son of Draco Malfoy. And they have an incredibly great relationship through this play. That's more so than anything else, that's what The Cursed Child is about. It's about Scorpius and Albus's relationship. And that brings up kind of an elephant in the room kind of thing, which is another reason that people are hating on this play. It's kind of a more valid reason than the other thing they said. I personally disagree. But a lot of people are accusing this play of queerbaiting. They think that it's really set up that Scorpius and Albus are more than just friends, and I think they are too, and then it kind of like shuts it down. I wouldn't say it shuts it down though. The thing is, they never kiss, they're never confirmed as being romantically involved, but they do have a lot of stuff that most people will perceive as flirting, and I think it is flirting, but these characters also have crushes on female characters, but just saying, bisexual people exist. Yeah. I think that Scorpius and Albus have a great relationship that I perceive as somewhat romantic. Most people will, and whether or not it is romantic, it's still a great relationship. These are 2 great characters, and they have a lot of compatibility, and they play off of each other great, and their personalities are interesting because they kind of contrast what their parents were. Scorpius is very happy and fun-loving and just wants to experience life, whereas Albus is kind of brooding and disappointed and stuff. And that whole connection with the parents is a major theme in this play. It's a lot about trying to live up to the legacy of their parents and not always succeeding, or just living with the realities of the world post the Battle of Hogwarts, which was, in the Harry Potter universe, obviously a major historical event at this point that changed everything. And that's really hard on Albus trying to live up to the great Harry Potter, especially since he got sorted into Slytherin, which was kind of hinted at as what was going to happen at the end of the last movie and the last book. But yeah, he did get sorted into Slytherin, and as a result of that, he gets bullied and tormented relentlessly. Harry has a very hard time relating to his own son because he expected him to be Gryffindor, And basically, Scorpius is Albus's only friend at Hogwarts, and that's where a lot of their relationship comes from. Meanwhile, Scorpius is just... He says, there's a quote in here, I can't remember it exactly, I should find it, but I don't feel like it, where he just says, oh, all I wanted to do was go to Hogwarts and make a friend and have some adventures like good old Harry Potter used to, and I think I got that with you, Albus. Total paraphrasing there, but that's what happens, and I think that really sums up his character a lot. There are, however, other characters. There's the other children. There is Harry's other children, Lily, Luna, and James. But they don't do a whole lot. Just honestly, they're if you were expecting to see more of them, read some fan fiction is all I can tell you. There's really not much of them at all in here. They're just kind of in there so you know that they exist. One character that gets a little bit more action is Rose Granger Weasley. Yes, Hermione and Ron did keep both their last names. That's just worth mentioning. Anyway, Rose is kind of a brat. She inherits that feeling that, like, she's on top of everything. She knows that her parents were great, important people, and she thinks that she's going to be the same. She actually assumes that, and doesn't really make much of an effort to make friends with the little guy. That's interesting. I mean, I don't particularly like her character, but in a way that she's well-written and believable. She is well-written and believable, and I do wish we saw a little bit more of her. We don't see a whole lot of her either, but we do see more of her than we see of Lily, Luna, and James. Anyway, the plot of The Cursed Child revolves around a lot of time travel. That's an interesting thing because the time turner was something that a lot of people didn't like about the original books and movies because it creates this plot hole. Time travel is messy. If you incorporate it into a story without it being the main point of the story, problems are going to arise. So I can understand why some people might be apprehensive of the idea that The Cursed Child revolves so much around the time turner. But I feel like The Cursed Child actually reconciles a lot of those plot holes. It actually explains why the time turner wasn't used more often in the original books, because, like I said, time travel is messy, and we really see that here. A lot of stuff goes wrong when the time turner is used, and that explains why it's not used nearly as much as it was. It's used for very small things, getting Hermione to class on time and saving Buckbeak. That's about it. If they did more than that, they could have messed up crazy things, which Scorpius and Albus very much do. They really screw with the timeline in this. Also, we find out that prior to the events of this play, all the time turners were ordered destroyed. Of course, there are 2 left, because otherwise the plot of this play wouldn't work, but they weren't supposed to be left. By different circumstances, they were left in existence, but they weren't supposed to be. And that says a lot, too, that if the time turners were able to all be destroyed except for those 2, that shows that there weren't many of them to begin with, which again explains why, in the original series, they didn't use them a whole lot. So why are they using these time turners? It's for a strange reason that you might not expect, actually. It's to save Cedric Diggory, which I think is cool. I'm glad that we're seeing Cedric as more of an important figure, but it's interesting why. Because we're at a point where Albus, and Scorpius to an extent, but more so Albus, are really feeling down. They're not feeling like they're living up to their legacy. They're not feeling like they're important or anything. And Albus has a lot of, I don't want to say hatred, but defiance to his father, Harry. And he realizes that Cedric didn't have to die. The only reason Cedric died was because he was with Harry. And Albus is realizing, you know, a lot of people died because of my dad, and I don't think that's fair. My dad's not been fair to me, so I'm just going to try to do something right with my life, and I'm going to go back and get Cedric back. So he tries to do that a few times, going back to the time of the Triwizard Tournament, essentially making it so that Cedric loses and isn't able to be there when Voldemort comes to strike him down. But, of course, that causes lots of crazy things to the timeline. We see multiple timelines where things just go horribly wrong. Another character here that's really important is Delphie. And this is the part of the review where the spoilers are going to be really start hitting. So, Delphie is Voldemort's daughter. Yeah, Voldemort had a daughter with Bellatrix Lestrange. That's another thing a lot of people are complaining about. They're like, oh, that doesn't make sense. That sounds like something from a bad fanfiction, but I don't think they're really thinking very hard about this. it would make sense that Voldemort would want a child, not out of love or anything, but just so as a backup plan, essentially, to bring him back. Or at least bring his ideas and rule back. And that's really what Delphie tries to do. It makes sense that he would want to have Delphie. Does that mean he loves Bellatrix? No, probably not. But he wanted a child, and yeah, who else would it have been with other than Bellatrix? I don't think there's a lot of other people lining up to screw the Dark Lord. Not that Bellatrix was either, but she's an option. So Delphie is really interesting in this play because she starts off appearing innocent. She actually says that she's Cedric's cousin and just wants to bring him back for that reason. And it's interesting when the plot twist happens because it really is surprising. Like, there's no lead up to understanding that Delphie is Voldemort's son. And there are little hints that you get that something's off, but it's a genuine surprise when he does that. And you realize that, yeah, they could have totally believed that she was Cedric's cousin this whole time. She was smart about this whole thing. She's a very interesting character. She's very deceptive, and she acts like she cares so much about Scorpius and Albus when honestly she's just using them. And that's very... it works. It just works. She's a very interesting character, and I'd like to see more of her. I don't think we're not going to, due to the events of the end of this play, and J.K. Rowling's not really planning on making any more of these. But I'm glad that she exists in this universe. This expanded universe, which I should say, because that's another thing. A lot of people aren't understanding. This is expanded universe. Expanded universe doesn't diminish the quality of the original. Look at Star Wars, for example. There is so much Star Wars expanded universe. Less of it is canon now because of the whole thing with Disney, but there's a ton of it. And some of it's crap, and some of it's just bizarre, but that people still like a lot of it too. It doesn't make the original trilogy no longer a thing. And Cursed Child is far from crap. I know a lot of people don't like it. I know it could be better, sure, but it's not crap. And it's expanded universe. I think we're long overdue for getting a Harry Potter expanded universe. Because Harry Potter is, to our generation, what Star Wars was to our parents' generation. It only makes sense that we have something like this. And I think it is so, so cool that we're getting expanded universe in the way of theater this time. That so rarely happens. It's usually comics or cartoons or something like that. Never theater. I can't actually think of a single other example where expanded universe came in the form of theater. I'm just really happy this exists. I'm getting off track here, though. Back to the actual story. I want to address the themes. Like, a lot of people think, oh, this is just some kind of fluff. It doesn't really mean anything. There's not a whole lot to relate to, but I disagree with that. I think that this says a lot about our relationship with our parents. That's really what this is about. It's about understanding the balance between being a good child and being your own person, being a good parent, and respecting your children. Lots of ways to think about the whole generation thing. This is a play about generations. It's a play about parents, but it's a play about finding your place in the world, even if it's not the place that you were expected to end up in. You might not be the Gryffindor that you were expected to be, but you could be a pretty dang good Slytherin, like Albus and Scorpius. Not that Scorpius was ever expected to be Gryffindor, but yeah. There's a lot of just interesting stuff in this play. Back on the whole expanded universe theme, there's a lot of stuff that we didn't see in the originals. New characters, especially, but also just new concepts. Concepts that I feel are perfectly fitting within the Harry Potter universe, and stuff that I'm glad we're seeing more of. Is stuff to tickle the imagination, stuff to fuel the fanfiction brain, stuff to just imagine. The imagination here is great. One particular scene that sticks out to me, and this is a scene that a lot of people were sharing out of context to like shock people away from reading it, and this is the thing with the Trolley Witch. It's fairly early on. It's so bizarre. But it's so cool, and it's so fitting to this world. The Trolley Witch, yeah, the one who says, anything from the trolley, dears, who brings the chocolate frogs and all those other candy sweets. She's actually this weird monster creature thing. Because Albus and Scorpius try to get off the train, she follows them up, she grows like claws and stuff, and it implies that she's immortal. It's just a really weird scene. But I loved it. The description there is just, you see it. And I'd love to see this on stage to see how they do it. Really anything in this I'd love to see on stage, because I don't know how they do it. I'm sure in London people could tell me that they do pull it off, but the stage directions here and the way the magic and the setting and all works is so high level. I can't imagine this being done anywhere but a professional theater. And that's kind of discouraging to me, because I'd honestly, as someone who's going into theater directing, I'd like to direct something like this at some point, but I'm mostly going to be working in high school, and that's just not going to be possible, probably. But anyway, the Trolley Witch, she has this weird stuff about her, and at first you're like, what the heck? But also, think about all the darker creatures and stuff that live in this universe. We have the Whomping Willow. This is just a tree that's near the school that can just kill you by smashing you to death. We have the Forbidden Forest with all range of horrors. So I don't think it's that out of place for this side character who we don't really know much about to prevent people from leaving the Hogwarts Express in such disturbing ways. And of course, we don't hear about it in their actual books because it doesn't happen very often. I mean, nobody wants to leave the Hogwarts Express for the most part, and if it does happen to you, you're probably too scared to say anything about it. And I don't think it ruins anything from the original books either, because I don't think the Trolley Witch was anyone's favorite character. She's just kind of there. She's part of the world that a lot of people remember, but this isn't like we're taking Fred Weasley and saying that, oh, he was actually a shape-shifting vampire the whole time. I could rant more and more about all the cool things in this book and why I like it more than most people did. But the fact of the matter is, just read it. If you've made it this far, you probably have read it because I did the whole thing about spoilers. I ended up using less spoilers than I thought I would. But I liked it. It was good. And I hope we see more Harry Potter Expanded Universe stuff. I know J.K. Rowling said she's done with Harry Potter, but if you read the actual article that's been floating around Facebook and stuff, you realize that she never said she was done with the Harry Potter world, she just said she was done with Harry Potter the character, and I think that's fine. It's totally fine that we're done with the character. He's run his lot. We got 3 Fantastic Beasts movies coming, I'm wearing my shirt, and I'm sure more stuff is going to be announced after that. This play just serves to give some kind of extra closure to his story and give some hope for the next generation, who a lot of people wanted to see. I know everyone wants to see the Marauders story. That's not something I was ever particularly interested in, but a lot of people also wanted to see these children. You can't just give the names of your main character's children without giving them some spring off board to understand their stories. And I think we got that, and we got it very well. And this book/play also reconciles a lot of the problems with the original books, which there weren't that many problems, but there were some, and it explains them. The whole thing with the Time Turner plot holes. Also the whole thing with Dumbledore and also Snape, how they're not really good people in the original books based on some of the things they did. And I feel like The Cursed Child really reconciled a lot of that, especially with Dumbledore. We get some good quotes from him and about him. Same with Snape to a lesser extent. We get this feeling that these are just people who made mistakes. Those mistakes aren't forgivable, but people learn from them. Things change, and that's another thing that worked really well in this play. I could rant about this for a lot longer, and I'm sure as soon as I stop recording this video, I'm going to think of other things I wish I said. But this video is too long as it is. Harry Potter and the Cursed Child was a very enjoyable read. I recommend reading it with a group and just doing the whole thing where you have different people playing different characters and just reading them out loud like a stage reading kind of thing. That's what I did. I recommend it to Harry Potter fans, and especially if you're part of the whole group that doesn't want to read it because of things you've heard, read it anyway. This is Jeremy, signing off. Don't hold your breath for my next video, but there will be one eventually, I'm sure. Thanks for watching. Bye.